Speaking of honing in, speaking of transitions, speaking of starting a new quarter, what is happening? College football is upon us. We are less than a month out. The most glorious day of the year is that first weekend, that first foot at 12 noon. It hits, and we get to start another college football season. We wouldn't be talking about college football without talking about the one, the only, the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. And there's one big name out there who, you know, last time we talked about him, some disaster hit his career, Connor. Do you remember uh, way back when, in our early days of our show? I feel like if we could afford the song, I would sing it. But it was also in September. Do you remember when we talked
Yeah, oh
about?
yeah, no, we were not fans, and I would still not be a fan of Bill O'Brien as a head coach, but he might have found himself in a good situation at the University of Alabama Career Rehab Center, aka Nick Saban's coaching staff.
Yep, they if it worked for Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, good things happen in three. So Bill O'Brien, you are on the right path. I wonder if you get a brochure when you sign on his coaching staff after your career's kind of fallen apart.
There's probably at least a phone call that gets placed by Nick Saban, and
I'm,
good night as coming from an NFL coach where you got to do so much with you have so little control. You have to do so much with so little control. I'm sure Bill O'Brien is just licking his chops because let's remember he had a lot of success. He had a lot of success at Penn State.
Ding.
With everything. Ding. With everything he had going on and being able to turn that program around. It'll be, I think Bill O'Brien, it'll be really fun to see how he does this year with some of the, quote, toys that he has to play with now and in his offensive arsenal.
I think it is a really good time for him to take that job because if you look at it, they just offloaded some massive offensive studs in the draft. So it's not as if they won the championship with Sark's system, and now he has to go teach his system to guys that are like, wait, why don't we do it the old way? We just won with that way. And of course, I don't think you get that much, questioning on college out of players, but still, I think it is not another pick.
Especially if you were an NFL head coach, though, you've got that going in your favor as well too. So even though Bill O'Brien should be questioned a lot for some of his maybe play calling decisions and personnel decisions, he doesn't have to make personnel decisions in terms of trading for players in college. He makes personnel decision in terms of recruiting players, but you're able to. That's probably a little bit more straightforward, I would imagine.
I wish I could make personnel decisions about winning this game, but that's for all of our podcast listeners out there. It's Friendstream Sports, Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, and hey, we're glad you're here. Drink Daddle's Coffee, 15% off, promo code FSS.
Drink Daddle's Coffee for the dogs.
For the dogs, dog. Outside of that, I think there's a conference we need to give a shout out because it needs some love. Does anyone still even care about winning the Big 12? Does anyone still even care that it's around? I feel like the Big 12 is the weird kid at school now that is moving at the end of the school year, so you don't invite to your birthday party because what's the point? We're not going to be friends anymore. You're going away, right? Like, you're great. Yeah, you're moving to Maine. Okay, cool.
You're moving to Maine.
But we live in Florida.
Did you know that Maine technically is the oldest state in the country in terms of population?
Did you know it's hard to talk about Maine without making a bunch of Maine puns?
You are the Broncos tonight.
Like the main way that you won today was because of 3 picks?
That's been a thing. That has definitely helped. But no, I think as it relates to the Big 12,
wait,
you're
watch
right.
Von Miller fall over. Watch him. Did you see him?
He's kind of done. He's starting to call uncle as these Colts are rolling.
The horses are running.
The horses versus the horses. I think that this year as it relates to Oklahoma, it's kind of their conference to lose. Although Rutledge, I would not count Iowa State out of any football game that they're playing in.
No, Iowa State is definitely a good deal team that is going to go in a good direction. This may be the year that Iowa State is actually a contender for the Big 12 instead of kind of an upset. So, if I were to put Big 12 out there for performance, I think I would definitely go, Oklahoma 1, Iowa State 2, and then maybe Texas 3.
Because Iowa State is bringing back a lot of their players, and their quarterback and their running back are going to be coming back. So I think here's another hot take for you. Iowa State is a sneaky dark horse playoff team.
It's not impossible. Does that mean, what is your top 3 playoff? Are we on the same page that your assumed playoff teams are still Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State?
Oh, of course.
I think if Iowa State had a win against Oklahoma, I definitely agree with that. They could make a playoff run. I think the state of Iowa would not know what to do. I don't think there is enough fans of Iowa State in the state of Iowa to fill their allotted tickets for the playoffs.
Oh, they would have to go to South Carolina and be like, "Hey, throw on this shirt. What's it for? You're going to a playoff game, but South Carolina's not in the playoffs. No, just throw on this shirt. It'll be okay."
Why's it got to be about South Carolina, Connor? Why couldn't it have been Why couldn't it have been they went to UCLA, Michigan State?
It could have been those teams, but I'm saying it could be about South Carolina because the fans are so passionate that they'd love to go cheer for a playoff team.
We're just bringing out the South Carolina jokes already. This is because Beamer was early to media days, isn't it?
Apparently, I was listening to Colin Cowherd today. He had Mike Vick on. Mike Vick was at South Carolina training camp the other day.
Saw that.
He said it was a good time out there with Coach Beamer and the boys.
I feel like anytime anyone would pay Mike Vick to do anything, it's a good time. Because I watched the video of Mike Vick talk about all of the best rushing quarterbacks that played in the NFL. You know who was number 1 on his list?
Mike Vick.
Yep. I think number 2 is Russell Wilson. Number 1 was himself. He's like, number 1, obviously me. Have you seen my records?
I mean, how can it not be? Like, let's be real here. Like, some of the things that he did, like, that's not even being showy. That's just like talking the truth.
I mean, he was good. I will say if I gave a way too early number 4 for the playoff, and not just because of where I live, but kind of a feeling of it, I'm going split between Texas A&M or Georgia. Could be a good early preseason number 4. Texas A&M, though, they have to beat Bama. And it would be Texas A&M would be in there, and Bama would be a 4. But I think one of those 2 SEC teams, they're both kind of contenders last year, could possibly have a shot. But
No
I like the Iowa State idea though.
Hey, let's just track them. I mean, and who knows? Maybe it's a little kiss of death here for me, but that could be a thing.
Oh, he came down with that.
Nice.
Well, that's a loss anyway. Steven, you're watching the show tonight. Who is your number 4 for the playoffs, Steven? I know you're out there. We have 5 viewers right now. Give a huge shout out to all 5 of our viewers. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate that. That's some good support tonight, Connor.
We always appreciate our viewers this evening and all evening.